Welcome back. Now you've uploaded your activity, and now we're going to start looking at some tools, techniques and models in project management. So we're just going to outline some tools and techniques we can use throughout the project life cycle. Then we're going to look at some project documentation that will be produced that we can need for effective project management, and we'll look at some well-known project management models. As we go through the rest of this unit, more will become available to sort of flesh that out, because we'll be looking at how we manage, monitor and evaluate our project using some of this stuff. So if you start to make notes now on these project techniques and tools, then you can build that as we go through it, because at the end there will be an assignment when you'll need that sort of information. So we'll just start dipping into those tools and techniques now, and then we'll sort of build on that as we go through. Many project management tools and techniques out there that we can use, and we've looked at some, and we'll look at those through the different stages of the project life cycle. So in the planning stages, we've got things that we've already looked at, such as SWOT and SMART objectives. We looked at SWOT in Unit 507, Operations Management Preview Unit, as a business development tool, and we looked at SMART objectives in 501 when we talked about managing people. So these are generic tools that can be used within project management quite easily and adapted to different situations. We then got things such as Gantt charts, used to show the amount of work done or the production completed at certain time periods in relation to the amount of planned periods that you've got. At planning stage, you're going to use this to try and map out tasks to timescales, and then we use it to monitor it later, and we'll look at that more in session 3. Got things like PERT diagrams or charts, planning tools used to calculate the amount of time it will take to realistically complete a project. So PERT stands for Program Evaluation Review Technique, and it can help you plan out your project along a time scale, a schedule, coordinate the team members that will be needed to complete tasks or work. And we'll look at some examples in the next session when we talk about monitoring, because we can, once we've set them up at planning stage, we can use those to monitor things and check that things are going to plan. We've got Plan on Page, which is a simple planning tool, but more of a methodology really. It's really just simply about keeping things simple, accessible and informative. So it's what it says on the tin, plan on a page. At the top of the page, you write the initiative or the idea. At the bottom of the page, the anticipated outcome, and then divide the middle up into normally 4 sections with critical things such as a graphic illustrating the framework or the theory that we're going to use, key points, compelling the case or the approach that we're going to take, a list of the key stakeholders, the measures of success, and we'll look at them more when we look at evaluating our project, or a list of outcomes and the dates they need to be achieved by. So it's plan on a page is literally about a graphical display of what you're going to do. Resource histograms, they're about reporting and representing the usage and graphically of your resources. So really what we're talking about, in other words, is the number of hours allocated to each resource for each part of the project at certain intervals, days, weeks, years. More of that in next session. We'll look at some examples. And Reiki matrix, which we've already talked about when we were talking before about planning responsibilities. And then in the monitoring and controlling stages, we've got trying to keep things in line with the project plan and in line with the timeline. We can have meetings with key stakeholders and project team members. We can have review meetings in line with the comms strategy or plan. We're going to be updating risks logs, issues logs and change logs as things happen. More about that in the next session. And we'll also be moving on to looking at the change management, how we go about that as things happen and things change, and that'll bring into play stuff that we've already looked at in 507 Ops Management when we looked at Kotter, the change curve, Prosky-Adkar, Beckard and Harris, and the nudge theory, and how we can use those to plan the changes and support the project team through them. As throughout these processes, from planning stage, continual monitoring, all the way through, we'll be doing some sort of risk analysis, and we'll be looking at some tools for those in a second. But before we start looking at those risk analysis tools, I want you to watch a video, 3 simple, fun and effective tools to help manage risks, by a bloke called Will Gadd. It's not really about project management, but hopefully you'll enjoy it. But it does identify And what you want to do is make some notes about how you think the things he's saying could relate to project management, because he is thinking about the way we approach risk in the whole of our lives, really, but he's focusing on it from his perspective and what is his job. So watch the video, make some notes, thinking about how the things he's saying could reflect into project management.